Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnmudachyate Purnasya Purnmadaya Purnmeva Vasishyate. So, welcome to our Saturday session. We are on our journey of Kathopanishad in Valli number 3, chapter 1. So far, we have already covered some of the very important and practical issues stated in this particular Valli. So, the one thing which we have learnt in the last session is that how to manage our own self. Indrabhya para artha, arthabhyasya param manam. That sense objects are higher than senses. Senses keep loitering in this world because of different attractions. There are a lot of attractions, incentives, and seductions which are available in this world, like the horses in the pasture. The sense organs keep loitering in the world all around. But the sense objects keep pulling them inside. So therefore, sense objects are stronger than senses themselves. The senses are pulled by these objects. The objects could be greed, it could be ego, it could be, attachment to wealth, it could be attachment to power, it could be attachment to prestige, it could be something else as well. There are many attractions in this world. They keep pulling these, senses towards them. So this is what it says, and we have to understand that properly. Then arthapyascha param manam. Then beyond sense object is the mind. Mind is more powerful. Mind is more pervasive. Mind is more subtle compared to senses and sense objects. And therefore, mind can be used to control both the sense objects and the senses themselves. And then manastu para buddhi. Then the intellectual power of the person is even beyond the mind. And that is what the Shruti, the Upanishad has been telling us, that you have to sharpen your mind, you have to concentrate your mind, and you have to apply your mind to decide about different objects of senses, whether the senses should go in that direction or not, whether the mind should go there or not. The mind should be controlled through the intellect. And then beyond intellect is the Atma, that is the self, the consciousness which keeps us, alive, which gives us life, the source of life. So this is how the sequence is of our body instrument. This is an engineering of our body. You see, body is the most, I would say, complicated instrument available in this universe. If you look at this body, if you look at the physical part, which is the weakest one, it is very, very complex. The doctors, the genetic sciences, the different branches of science, biology, genetic sciences, they have used a lot of knowledge to discover it. But despite all that, they have not been able to discover. A doctor who is eye specialist, he studies eye whole life, but he is not able to understand it fully. How the food we eat, we eat wheat, we eat rice, we eat vegetables, fruits. It converts into blood, it converts into flesh, it converts into neurons, it converts into bones. How that happens? It's a very complex process in that small little stomach. All this happens. That stomach is the most complicated machinery anywhere in the world. And it also tells you to discharge the waste. It also makes you feel thirsty. It makes you feel sleepy. Hmm? So it has a very complex mechanism. It is the engineering which is most complex in this universe. And that engineering is not that important. That engineering is only to keep your sense organs, your mind, your intellect in proper shape. So the engineering or the body itself, without these sense organs, without the mind, without the intellect, is like a vegetable. It's nothing, though it may be very sophisticated engineering, but it is like a vegetable. The actual work is done by sense organs, by mind, and by the intellect. So this is very important to understand, that we have to keep this instrument in order to keep our sense organs, mind, and intellect in order. And that is why our ancestors gave a lot of emphasis on what we call lifestyle, daily routine, what to eat, when to get up, when to sleep, and how to keep things, in a very, very organized way. That is why they give a lot of importance on food, because what goes inside the body also impacts your mind. We say in Hindi, "Jaisa ann vaisa tan, jaisa ann vaisa man." So the mind as well as your body is governed by the quality of food you eat. And that is why all those rules, regulations to regulate the food, the timing of the food, the timing of the bathing, the timing for exercises was governed by our ancestors. Why the yogas were developed, why breathing exercises were developed, the regulatory food items were developed. The whole, Ayurveda is based on how to keep the body in healthy state, so that our mind is healthy, our sense organs are healthy, and our intellect is healthy. So this is one extremely important part for our daily routine. We have to regulate our routine in such a way that our body is healthy. If the body is healthy, our sense organs will be healthy, our mind will be healthy, our intellect will be healthy. This is one thing we have to learn here. Now, we go to the mantra number 11. We did up to mantra 10 in the last session. Now, this mantra actually goes far beyond that. It goes into the origin of the universe. The mantra number 10 is about the living being. It's not only the human being, but about all the living beings, how their mechanism works, how this engineering of our BMI, body, mind, intellect system works. But the mantra number 11 goes to the origin of the universe, how the origin of the universe came, how it started. And therefore, this is much deeper science. This is the deepest science one can ever know. And this is like this. Mahat param avyaktam avyakta purus parah. It says, it goes beyond what was said in the mantra number 10. So it says that Mahat Tattva is even beyond the BMI complex, body, mind, intellectual complex. Mahat Tattva is also actually known as Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is in our, Shastras, considered as the place where all the living beings have their birthplace. So the Mahat Tattva is the first element, first manifestation in physical form of the universe. though Mahat Tattva to our sense organs still looks non-physical. It looks metaphysical, but it is not so. It is actually the origin of the manifest universe. The manifest universe starts with Mahat Tattva or Hiranyagarbha, from where all the living being, can trace their birth. It is the common place of, or it is the universe of what we call the origin of living beings. So Mahat Tattva goes beyond the BMI complex. All the body-mind intellectual complexes, whether they are in the form of human beings, whether they are in the form of animals, in the form of birds, or marine life, they all have their origin in Mahat Tattva. Because Mahat Tattva gives rise to the physical universe. And then it says, Avyaktam. Avyaktam is even beyond that. Where did Mahat Tattva come from? It comes from Avyakt. Now, Avyakt comes from Purus, then that is the final thing. Avyaktat Purusa Para. That Purus is beyond Avyakt. Now, what is Avyakt? Avyakt is the first stage of manifestation from where the Vyakt Mahat Tattva arises. Like you can call it in our language, the conception is something like Avyakt. And the beginning of the fetus is something like Mahat Tattva. And then the fetus grows, then it becomes BMI complex. So this is just an example. This is not the exact simulation of that process. But what this mantra says, that from the Purus, when this universe started, Avyakt came into being. And from Avyakt, Mahat Tattva came into being. And from Mahat Tattva, all the human beings, all the living beings came into being. Now, it is important to understand this. You see, all the BMI complexes, whether they are human being or whether they are other living beings, they live on the gross 5 elements of nature. The gross 5 elements of nature, the space, the air, the fire, the water, and the earth. They provide us the space to live, where we live. They provide us the air to breathe. They provide us water to drink. And they provide us food to eat. The food comes from the earth, the water, the fire is basically the energy cycle. The air is coming from the air, which we breathe in and out. And Akash is the space which provides. So these 5 great elements, which come from Avyakt, which come from Mahat Tattva actually, they are the source of our life. They are the source of our survival as well. So this science, the modern science has not been able to explain this till today. Let me give you 1 or 2 examples here. What Charles Darwin said. Charles Darwin said that somehow the matter, the combination of a matter, gave birth to a cell. And then the cell has its property of multiplication, it multiplied. And the organism came into being, and then the complex organism came into being. Now that defies the very logic, the very intellectual knowledge which we have. If we keep a stone or a mountain for millions of years, it has not given birth to any cell. Otherwise, it would have become a living being by now. But the mountains are living for millions and billions of years. They have not turned into any living being so far. So that theory has no, if you keep it, a glass for your lifetime, will it become a cell? Will it become a living being? It can never become. Actually, the science which our Upanishads tell, that Brahma is a living force. It is the consciousness. The living force gives birth to the entire universe, including those five great elements. Now, for example, we are living force. We have a life in ourselves. So we can create a train, we can create a bus, we can create an aircraft, we can create a city, we can create, submarines, we can create missiles, we can create agricultural products because we are living beings. Therefore, we are able to create. But a mountain which is not living cannot create all this. Nothing can be done. When our life leaves our body, we can't even sustain our body, forget about doing something else or creating something else. So the creativity is the function of life force. And that is what our Upanishads say, that Brahma is the living force. And therefore the Brahma is the Purush. The word has been used here as Purush. That Purush is able to create Avyakt, is able to create Mahat Tattva, the what you call the foundation of the physical world, and then the five great elements and all the living forces, living being in different species, all have been created from there. So this science is much deeper. In fact, even modern science today is about to accept that the life force did not come from inanimate matter. The matter was created because of the life force. And this is becoming clear and clear every single day. So the Charles Darwin's theory has no foundation to stand on at all. It is, in fact, absolutely stupid idea to say that a mountain turned into a living being after millions of years. If that had happened, all the mountains would have disappeared and they would have become living beings. Similarly, there's another theory which we should know, which is called, uh, the theory of the origin of universe. Now they say that there was a corpuscle of energy which somehow exploded and expanded all over. And because of that, the galaxies came into being, the different, planetary systems came into being, and then slowly, slowly life began. Now, if we ask where did this corpuscle of energy come from, there's no answer to that. How did it explode? There's no answer to that. How did it expand? There's no answer to that. Absolutely no, foundation of such theories. These theories are totally without any foundation. And those theories are taught to all of us in the schools. This is very unfortunate part of it. While the real theory is that Brahman, that is the living force, is existent everywhere in this universe. It is universal living force. And that living force actually gave birth to Mahat Tattva, that is the first physical manifestation. And from there came the five gross elements, the Akash, the air, the fire, the water, and the earth. And this became the source for living being to exist. And the living force was integrated with these gross elements to give birth to different species of life. So the consciousness was integrated with what we call the gross elements, like our body. Our body is a gross element. It is made of food. It is, the semen and the egg, which give birth to the body. Both are created because of food. Food we eat, the final part of that food, after it converts into, blood and flesh and bones and neurons and everything, the final part is called sukra, that is the semen. And similarly, in women, it is called, the egg. And that final part, that is called reproductive part, gives birth to the next generation, the progeny, in all species of life. This is how it happens. So this particular mantra actually tells us the origin of the universe from Purus. Purus is a living force, and from there everything originates. And this is also what we call the theory of Advait, that everything has one single origin, and that is Purus. Now, we should also understand this word Purus. Pur is called city in our language, like Jaipur, Jodhpur, Udaipur. And the Pur means city. And Se means the consciousness living in that city. That is called Purus. The life force living in that city. Now, in our city, the Purus is living in me also. I'm a city. In this city, millions of, living forces are there. If you ask a doctor, he will tell you, in your stomach, there are millions of, these microbes, jivanu. In the entire body, there are billions of them, trillions of them perhaps. And the life force lives there. And that is why it is called a city, Pur. It is also called No Dwaron Ka Gate, a city of 9 doors. Because we have these 9 doors in our body. The 2 ears, 2 eyes, the nostrils, that is 6, and then mouth 7, and the 2, holes down below for, for the 2 waste disposal and the disposal of urine. So all these are total 9 holes. Some of them are also counting 2 additional holes, which are not fully visible. One is called Nabhi, which is also a sort of hole. And one is, what we call Brahmandra, that is in the, rear part of our head, which is also called, in fact, if you see a newly born child, you find that part is very, very soft there. So in some places they called it 11 gates, but normally it is Navdwara, No Dwaron ki city. So this city of 9 gates, it is made of food and it is activated by the consciousness. So this is how this whole process has been explained in our Shastras, that Brahm basically it comes from the Bri Dhatu of Sanskrit. The root is Briha. Briha means power to expand infinitely. That meaning itself is like this. And that is what the power of Brahma is, that it can expand infinitely and it is a living force. It is not a matter. It is actually giving birth to Mahatattva, that is the first part of the matter, matter of the matter, and then the five gross elements which are visible, tangible, we can see them. So this is how this origin of the universe works. Not the Big Bang, neither the theory of Charles Darwin. Those theories is, actually stand nowhere. They have no foundation to stand on. So these mantras, these two mantras, mantra number 10 and 11, they expand on the origin of the universe and the functioning of a human being, how our body mechanism works. It is very, very important. Now, the second part of Mantra 11 clearly announces, it says, Purusan para kinchitsa kasta sa paragati. That beyond Purus there is nothing. That is the last ultimate, place to reach. And it means that if you are taking this journey backwards, beyond Purus you cannot reach anywhere. The Purus is the ultimate place, which is also called Paramgati, the final destination where you reach. And this is the explanation of the origin of the universe, how the universe came into being. So if we recapture it, the Purush is like the living force, the Brahma. From Brahma comes Avyakt, that is the first manifestation. And then comes the Mahatattva, or, we call it Hiranyagarbha, which is the manifestation, real manifestation of the physical world. And from there comes the five, actually Tanmatras, and from there the body and the physical universe come into being. The five Tanmatras, we know, they have their origin in Mahatattva, and these Tanmatras are basically the power of hearing, that is the ears, related to the ear, the power of touch, the power of seeing, to see, sight, the power of smell, and the power of the taste. So they are called Shabd, Spars, Roop, Gandh, Roop, Rang, Gandh, and Ras. These are the five, Tanmatras. These Tanmatras then finally give birth to five gross elements and to five senses of perception and five senses of action in the body. So this is how the universe is scientifically designed. It is well connected with the living force, and it is actually sustaining the living force in a very scientific manner. So these two mantras, mantra number 10 and 11, that is the most profound science of origin of this universe. And this is how I think the modern science will also reach there sooner or later, after realizing the mistakes they are doing today. Now, at this point, I would like to go into one or two other aspects. The one aspect is, we do not realize that the Purus is sitting inside us, because there are layers and layers of activities which are over there. The most important layer is the sense organs and sense objects. They keep pulling us in and out and out, and we have no time to think beyond them. Sometimes we think of our mind. We contemplate about our mind sometimes on our intellect. But beyond that, we never go. And that is why this is called Ghungat ke Pat. These are the various layers with which the real life force is hidden. So we say the Ghungat ke Pat kholo, that you know, remove all these layers, then only you will realize that the life force is the real force, which is sitting inside you and which is actually, you know, is responsible for entire activities that you do. That life force enables you to act. For example, your eyes work because of that, your ears work because of that, your nostrils work because of that, your taste works because of that, your mind works because of that, your intellect works because of that. If that force leaves your body, then all this becomes useless. And then it is reduced to what we call mitti. It is reduced to, you know, practically soil. It goes back to the five gross elements. So these, you know, but these layers have to be removed, and we have to rise beyond these layers to understand the existence of real force in the body. So this is very, very important part here. The second thing I wanted to mention today is that this is a unique system. You know, when you go to education system, if you get the sketch of how the aircraft is made, you can make an aircraft. There are a lot of scientists who can make an aircraft. They can, you know, uh, build a factory now. We can make a car. This can be taught through the schools, through the sketches. There is a system of teaching. This is the physical world can be made and improved upon later on. You can make a car and then improve upon that car when the car first came or the aircraft first came. And now, you know, you keep improving upon them, it's possible. But so far as this machinery, our living being, we are concerned, this machinery doesn't go by the book. It is an individual who has to practice himself. He cannot take a book from his guru and, you know, pass the exam and reach nirvana. It is not possible. For reaching nirvana or moksha, you have to understand your own machinery and then work on it and then remove all these layers and reach the real layer, that is the Brahman, that is the living force, and then become one with that living force. Then only one can reach moksha. But this is an individual concept. It is not a concept which is collective. It is not like the engineering, you know, university which can teach you to make a submarine. It is not exactly that way, no. The teacher can give you some tips. He can give you some knowledge. He can tell his own experience. But ultimately, you have to practice yourself to understand your own mechanism first. And then after understanding that mechanism, you remove those layers and then reach what we call through the backward journey, neti neti, to the life force and then become one with that. Then only we actually realize ourselves. So this journey is very different. We will talk about this at some later stage. But this is an individual journey. This is not a collective journey based on certain books and text and, you know, somebody's experience. No. That experience is useful. The books are like Upanishads are useful. The Gita is useful. But they do not give you ready-made material. By following that, you can achieve moksha. No. And that is why this Upanishad is telling us the entire mechanism of the functioning of the body. They took that example of Rath and Rathi. Who is Rathi? Who is Rath? How the horses work, how the lagam works, how the Rath works, and how the Sarthi works. That is very, very important part. And we have to understand this functioning to actually, improve our own daily conduct. And through that improvement, only we can become one with the Supreme. Then you can say, Aham Brahmasmi. Once you have realized that the Brahma is sitting inside you, and the Brahma is responsible for everything that you are doing. The Brahma is operating your system. He is the one who is enabling you to see. He is the one who is enabling you to hear. He is the one who is enabling you to smell. He is the one who is enabling you to taste. He is the one who is enabling you to touch and who is keeping you alive. Because of that, your mind is working. Because of that, your intellect is working. Once you start realizing that, then only we can start the journey in the right earnest. And this is very important. I thought I should take this because this is directly related to these few verses, few mantras of this Upanishad. So I would end here today and we will continue our journey next time. Thank you so much.